was a sprint race it was at the Zandvoort Grand Prix, the Dutch GP. It was a very interesting sprint race, though 24 laps of fiery action. Like I said, some drivers would choose the soft tires while some would choose the medium tires. But it was a great one seeing how this blocked out. The Orange Army were there to represent, especially to speak for their homeboy, Max Verstappen. Though it's not looking like a good car for them presently, the Red Bull, but I think it's going to be a whole long season for them. Round 12 we are sprint race. That's the 5th sprint race of the season, and that might be or would be, like I said in one of the videos, the last race we'll be having in Zandvoort in the nearest known time. But unfortunately, what a sprint race it was. For the first one on a track that is very, very difficult to overtake, you can't beat it. To see how the drivers push it, I saw some few overtakes, especially the Charles Leclerc overtake. What a great overtake it was, though we know Lando Norris was suffering on his rear tires and was also suffering from deployment, so it was a easy catch for him on that lap, and great it was. We saw two drivers starting from the pit lane. We saw Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso starting from the pit lane after making changes to their cars over the night as against the sprint race. And we saw Nico Hülkenberg getting out of the race as soon as possible. Perez was the first to get out of the race, but he came back 2 laps later. He was 2 laps down. He came back into the race. He had issues at the start of the race, came back. Also, Hülkenberg that went out of the race also came back because they're trying to get valuable data as against tomorrow. So they made the necessary changes they were able to make to put these cars back and get valuable data, which is very, very important to the team. You get valuable data during races like this, so for tomorrow's main race, you can know where to put the car and how to make the car work. Qualifying coming next, but unfortunately, it's going to be a different qualifying. I think the time will shrink down a little from what we saw yesterday. What happened in the race? George Russell was able to get a good one. I think he got a peck from his girlfriend or from his newly appointed and anointed babe, and it was a good weekend for him. Got the pole yesterday, drove from the pole today, managed the tires well, got into the rhythm, and he was off the line, quick, stable, and great. No mistakes from him. It was just on point and was able to hold that position, the P1 position, till the end of the 24 laps, which was great for him on medium tires. He got pressured from Lando Norris, and Lando Norris overpushed his car, overpushed his tire, lost his tire, and we saw that, especially the tire performance in this race. We saw how the tire performance affected Lewis Hamilton, affected Max Verstappen, affected Lando Norris, but teams behind, I don't know why it was not affecting them. Yuki Tsunoda was behind Lawson for a long time. It was 0.7 to 0.9 seconds. How true? How is he doing that? I don't know. We saw other guys doing that. Oliver Biermann behind his teammate also, even on soft tires. Oliver Biermann and Charles Leclerc started on soft tires. They were holding the fourth, and the soft tires did pretty well. I think the soft tire did pretty well than the medium tires today. The drivers on medium tires had to be cool enough to come back, but drivers on soft tires, they were not cool enough. They were right there, as in they were staying with their guys, like sticking close to them, like, guy, I'm here, don't worry, I am here with you. It was a great race to see, and tomorrow is already giving us an highlight from today. Looking at Charles Leclerc overtake, like I said earlier, it was something that McLaren will need to learn on. Though we know that the Ferrari had the pace. Do they have the pace of the Mercedes? I think yeah, because we have a lot of slow speed corners and medium speed corners. They have a whole lot of pace. They might be matching Mercedes, and I think if they bring the Adu, this is going to show us how the Adu will work for them, because they will have a big chunk of advantage. But on the pace level, if it was a track in which they can overtake easily, I think they would have. But tomorrow we could be having 75 lap race. We could be having 2 stops or 1 stop. But today, seeing what the soft tires can do, 24 laps, I think it could be a 1-stop race. Let me explain. If the soft tire can do 24 laps comfortably, confidently, and they're not losing or raining too much, you can push the soft tire for 25-26 laps, push the medium to the end of the race. Yeah. Or push the hard to the end of the race. Or you go soft, medium, soft. Now, going soft, medium, soft means you would have to risk too much on low fuel. You need to go late, attack differently, go late, have single new soft tire kept against the race, and you'll be doing that on soft tires from lap 60 or 55. So you know that you're on low fuel and you are really pushing injection on hard. You understand? And I think that might be a good one. But for medium hard, it's just a soft race tomorrow. Strategy will be very important. Strategy as in, what tires are you starting on, what tires are you ending on? 2, pitting. How fast can you pit? Undercut or overcut? Which will work? And I think on that track, undercut will be the best. And if you can undercut, pit faster and come out faster, get your lap in faster, I think undercut will do a great job. So teams will need to be thinking very hard, thinking very well going into qualifying and into tomorrow's race. A lot of teams will be adjusting, tuning, doing few things on the car to make the car faster, while some cars will be faster, some will be slower. So it depends on the changes, the adjustment they make on the car that will give the result. But it's showing like we have a good race on our hands tomorrow, and you don't want to miss the analysis, guys. So catch you guys for the main qualifying and for the main race tomorrow. I love you guys. What a pole run by Lando Norris. It was a great qualifying, like I said earlier. It's going to be a great one, and it was. We saw a lot of teams did some little technical things to their car. Lewis Hamilton, we now know that Lewis Hamilton and his teammate, they had a different configuration. And what really happened? Ferrari ran their upgrade, the flaw they brought during the qualifying, because they were afraid if they run it during the practice, they might break it or something like that. The drivers never had the opportunity to tune the upgrade to the best form they can, so they went different ways. And that's sometimes the difficulty in bringing upgrades to tracks in which you're not prepared for. But they had a good one. Going into qualifying, we saw they've done a better job. They've been able to tune it up, but they still have a long way to go because there's still much to extract. Probably for the race, the car might be better, but for the McLaren boys, we saw they've tuned it up. They were ahead of Mercedes. Another English front row start. Antonelli did a better job this time, starting third. Lewis Hamilton starting fifth. It's going to be a very huge contract tomorrow. For Red Bull, is a very dangerous one for them. They struggled all through the qualifying. Even at the time, the Racing Bull looks faster than the Red Bull in Lindblad's hand. Gasly is the only one putting on the shirt of the upgrades for his team Alpine. Now, for the Aston Martin, yes, they've upgraded the car, but the car still looks behind because their hardware they brought was at 15 horsepower on it, in which they can still do more. But presently, I think because they're trying to just roll it in, reel it in, see how to make the car better. I think that's why they're still where they are. But it's going to be a very interesting one to see next week in Monza what they will be able to do. But looking at it all through, I think the teams that brought upgrades, the upgrades seems to be working, and it seems to be a pretty cool afternoon. The Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren look so close, about 3/10 between this team in qualifying, which makes sense. 3/10. This is the closest we've been this season, and the top three guys were like 100 between themselves, which is making sense. But in Q1, we had Sainz out, Alonso, Stroll, Bierman again out, Bottas and Perez in that order. In Q2, we had Gasly, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, Ocon, Albon out in that sequence. But this time, we are having in Q3, Norris on pole, Russell, Antonelli, Piastri, Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Verstappen starting 7th, Lawson, Bortoleto, and Lindblad. Bortoleto again starting 9th. He has been a great qualifier and a great qualifying for him. Liam Lawson in this session was able to match his present teammate now, Max Verstappen, but the Red Bull is a little bit far off. They have a lot to work on in Red Bull, and I hope they are able to do that before Monza, because Monza will be a catastrophe for them if they don't have a good package. It will be a catastrophe for them. The McLaren may not have the race pace like they didn't have this morning, but in qualifying they will have it, and they will be able to hold it against Red Bull. So with Ferrari's upgrade and Mercedes, it will be a very difficult ask for Red Bull coming into Monza. But this race is already done. Let's see tomorrow. Strategy, race pace will determine what happens tomorrow. But certainly you don't want to miss it. I love you guys. Bye. Cheers.